Well, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles are definitely going to be buyers by the trade deadline. Okay, if Howie Roseman thinks that this is a contending team, he is going to trade for specific player, whether it's the offensive side of the ball or defensive side of the ball, or maybe he gets one guy, maybe he gets two guys. A lot of other names are popping up right now that could be available. There are two teams out there that aren't playing well, and especially relationships with specific players towards the organization not going well and could be up to trade. So what is up Howie Roseman's sleeve? And a couple of things to take away from the Eagles-Rams going into the Jets this week. So let's get into it.
We better do that. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? So definitely want to go over specific players that could have interest for the Philadelphia Eagles and kind of relate it to our roster to see would it actually make sense. Some of these are probably going to make no sense. Some of these might make sense depending on the roster and if they move some guys around and stuff like that for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I want to kind of go over that real quick. Now, going over to the Denver Broncos, okay, now there was a report that came out a few days ago that every defensive player from that roster could be up for trade. I think the Broncos are going to be looking for draft compensation and, kind of rebuilding. If Sean Payton's going to be there, probably going to rebuild that team at some point. And I think Sean Payton's only there to really kind of revive Russell Wilson's career, but the rest of the roster-wise could have some coaching firings and could be a clean slate for the Broncos and might want to start over again. So I think a lot of teams are going to call the Broncos to see which players are available. Now, one on the offensive side of the ball, which I think would be very interesting and, related to the Philadelphia Eagles, would it make any sense, is Jerry Jeudy. Has obviously not lived up to par. And obviously, his stats do suffer because of bad quarterback play last year. There were a lot of, even by the trade deadline last year to this year, a lot of interest. Even the Browns really tried to take a shot at, trading for Jerry Jeudy and would be a valuable number 3 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I know a lot of people have been having an issue with Quez Watkins. Zaccheaus has looked like the better wide receiver so far. I know the bubble screen wasn't pretty, but, Jalen Hurts did miss Quez Watkins wide open for a touchdown through and kind of force-fed it to Devontae Smith. And on a good third down for the Eagles midfield, he overthrew Quez Watkins that was pretty much standing still on a wide open pass. So, how much blame do we put into not getting the wide receiver 3s involved? It's definitely Brian Johnson, but could there be a significant upgrade for the Eagles going into the rest of the season if they want to make a trade for Jerry Jeudy? I don't know if this is going to be something that's going to be cheap or it's going to be an easy trade for Howie. It might not be. That, like I said, the Eagles have 10 draft picks next year. And, this isn't even with the compensatory picks and stuff like that. So, a lot of draft capital, an extra second round pick. And I don't know what it would cost if this would even make sense for the Eagles. For me, I like the guys that we do have. But could they get a better capable guy at that position that really is a burner, that is more of a burner than those two? I think they can, but I have no problem with keeping both of those guys. And I think Zaccheaus I'm surprised they started Quez Watkins immediately in that Rams game. I'm actually really shocked. To be honest with you, he didn't do a bad job. Just the statistics weren't there because Jalen Hurts missed him on a couple targets. And that bubble screen, I just don't get as a wide receiver why with 2 blockers in front of you, which you go around everybody. So that really made no sense. But Jerry Jeudy could be a possibility going forward. Now we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball where things can get a little interesting for the Eagles if every player on the Broncos defense is up for sale at this point, like you're going to a flea market to see what the price tag is on a lot of things. Patrick Surtain definitely comes to mind when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, the cornerback position, which we will go into in depth with this video later on. And Patrick Surtain is definitely young, only been in the league a few years, and could be a potential trade target. You know what I mean? You don't want to redshirt Surtain for the year, so it makes sense for the future, but it doesn't make sense for right now with what we have right now, because I don't think the Eagles would ever, and look, you really can't do it because because Slay is making too much money. Bradberry just got a new contract, so I don't think you can even afford to do this right now and grab a guy like Surtain and let him sit. I know a lot of Eagles fans are I guess Eagles fans think they could just take Bradberry, just cut him, or they could just take Slay and cut him. Slay's got one more year on his deal, and Bradberry's here for another 2 years after this year. So the Eagles kept 7 cornerbacks, and I feel like they could be in the market for a corner this year, maybe for something later this year. I know they picked up Isaiah Rodgers. That's in trouble for the the gambling situation, Keely Ringo, you have a lot of guys, Zach McPherson, that's hurt, and Mario Goodrich, that's not really playing good at nickel, and Eli Ricks, that seems very promising right now, which I think we have to keep a close eye on Eli Ricks. But Patrick Surtain, I think my opinion is the top 5 corner in the league, and just on a crappy team right now, and he's not going to go for nothing, not for cheap or nothing like that. But I don't think if the Eagles were down a corner or had an injury on the outside corner position or something like that, and they want to make a move like this, sure. If there's time for the Eagles to make a move for this next year or something, I don't know, because Slay and Bradberry are still going to be here in 24, unless they don't want to take on a huge cap hit from Slay, or we'll see what happens. But I'll talk about the corner position later on in this video. So the Surtain thing doesn't make sense for right now, but maybe down the road next year if that's the case. So we'll figure that out when the time comes. Justin Simmons would be an interesting one at safety. I think you could definitely afford to get a safety right now, just because with the safety spot, Terrell Edmunds should be out of this lineup. I think they can add somebody. And what if Sidney Brown's hamstring doesn't hold up the rest of the year? I think in at least a couple weeks, a few weeks that we have, about 4 weeks till week 9 of the trade deadline, and there's a lot of time, and Justin Simmons could be on the top of the Eagles list right now when it comes to acquiring a safety that's playing at a high level. And, he's a great player, and, he's great contact. He's good against the run. I mean, he tackles really well. So I think he covers pretty good. So I think Justin Simmons would be a perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward if this is what they kind of want to get this out of the way. I know they signed this. I know they tried to sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson this past offseason. They just couldn't get it done. Terrell Edmunds was really the plan B option. Then they picked up Justin Evans, and they drafted Sidney Brown. So if Sidney Brown really can't hold up with this hamstring this year before week 9, and the Eagles haven't made a move yet, this would probably be a move that I definitely would do. The Budda Baker situation is different because he's making way too much money right now, and on top of that, his cap number is way too big right now. So the Eagles would have to take on a lot of money, and they would have to take on a huge cap hit for the year. It's like 13 million, or it's high. It's really high. So the Budda Baker thing, if it was a lot lower, it would make more sense. But Justin Simmons, it really wouldn't be that bad. Wouldn't be that bad at all. And I would definitely do this in a heartbeat. And like I said, you can make room for a new safety because Terrell Edmunds would probably get cut off this team in 2 seconds because he is the worst safety really in the building right now. So the Justin Simmons thing really does, intrigue me a little bit. Now, going on to another team, I know we talked about Jeremy Chinn. Probably Jeremy Chinn is my number one guy that I would like to trade for since, I think the Carolina is still winless right now. And, a lot going for them where, there could be guys available. And I think another guy available, if you want to add somebody to the edge, is definitely Brian Burns, okay? 25 years old, 2-time Pro Bowler, okay? I think they picked up his 5th-year option this year, if I'm not mistaken, because he's been on the team for 5 years. And I think they picked up the 5th-year option unless they signed him to a 1-year deal or something like that. I don't know. But Brian Burns would be an interesting one going forward. The edge just needs more productivity. I think Hassan Reddick is starting to get his groove down now with 3 sacks, 2 back-to-back sacks during the Rams game. Josh Sweat has been pretty good all year. And Nolan Smith is not playing. I don't know why. Nolan Smith has got to play. I think his time will come. If the side doesn't play Nolan Smith the whole year, shame on the Eagles for letting him do that. And Derek Barnett has 1 combined tackle for the year. It's been, 10, 11 games. 1 QB hit in 11 games? 1 QB hit in 11 games? It's just insane. Not even a tackle during the Rams game. He's been just disappearing. Now, Brian Burns apparently kind of freaked out on the sideline, I think a game or two ago, and there was like a 4th-and-1 call, neutral zone, a neutral zone call that was on them, kind of ruined the whole entire drive. Got pissed off, and just looks like he's just kind of fed up. Rumors that he's fed up with Carolina and what they're doing defensively, and kind of maybe wants a fresh start somewhere else. And I honestly think we need to go at, and I even wanted this. I wanted a defensive end this year. You know, when Frank Clark was available and a few Yank Ngakoue was available, there were a few guys that were available that I really wanted just to a 1-year deal, something like that. And the Eagles didn't grab anybody. You know what I mean? So I thought maybe they would grab someone, but Brian Burns would be great. So I don't think you'd play him as an outside linebacker. I think mostly as an edge rusher, he would be great. He would turn into an edge rusher if he comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think you would see some massive productivity. So if they want to keep everything the way it is with this secondary, and that's fine, you know what I mean? So you get Sidney Brown back, you get more depth at safety, and hopefully, you know, Bradley Roby is, you know, more content, and they feel comfortable with him, and he looks really good at the nickel spot. Then you could afford just add more to your pass rush. The more, the merrier. When Jordan Davis got hurt last year, they signed Ndamukong Suh, they signed Linval Joseph before that Colts game, and they really did a good job. You know, I thought they did a fantastic job to bring 2 veteran presences here, which is good. And I think Brian Burns would definitely be up there, to have some interest maybe, you know, and how much would it cost? I don't know. They would have to finagle the price a little bit, and would definitely be, I think he's playing. See, the weird thing is he was like a $15 million cap hit or something. Something was going on. They would have to extend him most likely or something like that, because I don't know. I think they picked up his 5th-year option. I don't know what happened. Either they signed him to a 1-year or they picked up his 5th-year option, one or the other. I kind of looked at the contract really quick, but it didn't really tell me if it was a 5th year or just a 1-year deal. So we'll see, but definitely Brian Burns would be one. If they don't want to go after secondary, I think adding to the defensive line is just even better. I don't see why not. It's going to help your secondary out a lot more, the way we're playing defense right now, and I think it is getting better every single week. So I think Brian Burns is definitely up there and hopefully on the top of the Eagles list. Now, going to the cornerbacks for the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of bad press is going on between Darius Slay and James Bradberry, okay? A lot of fans were pissed off in the live chat, especially on a lot of streams I've looked at, or even just in general, saying that Slay and Bradberry are too old, and Slay's too old, he's not the same anymore, blah, 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 blah. Every cornerback in this league is struggling, okay? Sauce Gardner struggles. There's a lot of corners out there. Surtain struggles at times. Everybody struggles. This is what happens, okay? I don't think the scheme is right for them. It's just what it is. I don't get why you pay cornerbacks. At this point, if you're going to pay cornerbacks, just play a little bit more press. And I think going into the second half of that Rams game, I thought they played a little tiny bit up close, a little bit more, played a little bit more press. And that's all I really wanted. Keep things a little bit closer, not give too much away when you're giving 5 to 8 yards of free release off the line from these tight ends and wide receivers and literally having no chance. I think a lot of people that were pissed off during that Rams game was that I think they were playing man-to-man coverage, and Slay got burnt and Bradberry got burnt on that touchdown. Slay was burnt by Cooper Kupp and on the same series, I think, and Bradberry was burnt for that touchdown from Puka Nacua. Okay, if I'm saying his name right or wrong, I don't know. I don't care. And everyone's saying, man, they're getting this. That maybe Desai doesn't trust our outside corners right now. Maybe they just don't have any trust in both of those guys. I'm not really worried about it because this is just normal. There's no such thing as, you know, these guys have to face younger wide receivers and tight. You know what I mean? They're going to be facing some younger talent that might have the best of them because of age. I don't know. But these are human beings that play the game. They're going to lose matchups. It happens. Okay? We want to play man, we play man. And when you play man, you're going to suffer the consequences when they can't cover that player. You know, there's some times where Slay does piss me off where I think like he's just is kind of lazy in coverage at times, but I don't really want to think that. I just think it's, you know, just how far he is off from somebody. But I know he was man-to-man. Both of them were man-to-man on their guys in that one series, and Slay got burnt by like 3 to 4 yards by Cooper Kupp, and Bradberry was kind of trailing pretty much right on top of Puka Nacua, but just couldn't get it in time. You know what I mean? So I think Desai plays off coverage because he may have not tried. You know, it's for the whole team. It's not just because of Slay and Bradberry. It's for the whole entire team. They'd rather They'd rather have the offense, take more time of possession, keep everything underneath. And like we've been saying, when you play off the ball, you have got to make sure you're rolling for those tackles and get those tackles. No missed tackles for big chunk yards, because then you're defeating the purpose of even playing off the ball in general. So a lot of complaints have been going towards Bradberry and Slay. I'm not making a big deal about it. There's no such thing as shutdown corners, guys. Like, this is just, these are two guys that are getting paid from the Eagles right now, and these are good cornerbacks, okay? I think we should be grateful and put this secondary at a higher standard, and I definitely do at times, because back in the day, we had Leotis McKelvin, we had Bradley Fletcher, we had Kerry Williams, we had these, just Nami Asamoah. Just horrible corners. Like, this has been the first time in a long time where we actually have been set at this position. Are they being used correctly 100%? Probably not. But I thought the adjustments in the second half of that Rams game really helped us out, and I thought they were a little bit more physical. And, if you could just cover for an extra couple seconds, not even a couple seconds, a second and a half, just a little bit of time, that pass rush, look at what you're doing. Look at this defensive line right now, how they're playing right now. I think the Eagles are leading in turnovers as is right now, so I think they're double digits in that as of right now. So it's interesting. So I wouldn't go too far to say anything. Like, I think we got to be real grateful. We just have a coach right now that's just his second time being a defensive coordinator. He hasn't been a coordinator since 21. And Sean Desai, I thought, as a game where his best, most adjusted game, I think the Tampa game was his best called game. I think his best adjusted game into the second half was definitely this game, no doubt. At least he doesn't just roll with the same thing every single play and makes the adjustment. So I think it definitely helped. They shut down the Rams offense in the second half. They allowed no points. I know the Eagles offensively, took 3 series to score 6 points, but it is what it is. But I wouldn't make a big deal out of this at all. And I think people need to relax a little bit. Like, they are going to get beat at times. It's just life. They're not going to be perfect. And if they play man, that's what Sean Desai is afraid of. Those 2 big receptions back-to-back, or maybe it wasn't back-to-back, I don't remember, but it was the same series. Slay got burnt to the other side of the field, and Bradberry got burnt the next play. Just a throw-up, just a quick Matt Stafford got the ball, threw it up, boom. The pass rush wasn't really there. So this is what you're going to have to deal with at times. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. They can't be perfect. We're going to lose some. It's just going to happen. When you play man, that's what, if you want this team to play man, you have to suffer the consequences of them getting beat deep and against the other side of the field easily. And they did it in 2 plays with 2 different wide receivers. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And then, Jason Kelce was very animated on Sunday evening. Okay. And I understand, like, the red zone has been a big problem. Now, I don't know what the issue was. I know Kelce went back to the locker room. He said, like, there's just things that have to be adjusted. And, I've been with this franchise a long time and blah, 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 blah. Okay. I think part of it is, like, I think as an offensive lineman, it's got to be very annoying that the Eagles just can't get the ball in. I think there were some substitution problems, or the call was coming in very late, and by the time, the Eagles were just out of time for the delay of game. The Eagles wasted like 2 timeouts against the Rams. They had to waste 2 timeouts in the second half, which I was hoping that wasn't going to screw us if we were losing in that game by the end of it. Thank God we kept the lead and stuff, which was good. Because wasting 2 timeouts because of a delay of game, not getting it kind of sucks. It's a waste. So Kelce just got really pissed off. So I guess the next play the next play after that penalty happened, or they were going to get that penalty, Kelce was just calling the plays from the line, like, or calling the adjustments, like, really, really loud. If you hear him on the field, that's what he did. So red zone is not effective right now. They're using Jalen Hurts way too much with his feet. They have the wrong running back in there. Every time they get into red zone, they take DeAndre Swift out. Another problem. There's just not enough creativity down there. You're just going to run with Jalen Hurts, or you're just going to hand the ball off, and not even really hand the ball off. They're barely running down there. They're way too pass happy down there. It's got to get better. This is, every time they get the red zone, I get nervous because I feel like they just stopped knowing how to play football. They have got to do some outside runs. They have got to use Rashad Penny, use a bigger back, which they have, and still, he was out with an illness, apparently, if that was even true, or they just wanted to make room on the roster for somebody else and have him as a healthy scratch off the roster for this game. So, I think it's they got to fix this. They 100% got to fix this, and it's got to be some quick stuff. I'd have Swift in there. Stop being pass happy and do your thing, man, because I think it's hurting us at the end of the day. Like, how many more points can the Eagles score? Like I said, they might have shut down the Rams. The defense might have shut down the Rams in the second half, but the Eagles could have scored they could have scored another 2 touchdowns and a field goal. I'm not even kidding. This should have been a 40-point game. Should have been a 40-point game. They should have blew the Rams out. Like I said, Eagles are fifth. I don't know. Before the Rams game, they were fifth in points. So they're not playing their best football offensively, and red zone is a big part of that. Personnel, substitutions, it all comes together. So I know if Kelce's having an issue, Sirianni's going to listen. And Kelce went up to Sirianni. Then he went up to, Jeff Stoutland. Stoutland was just like, he was just like, wait, Kelce, he was like surprised Kelce was like being very animated and kind of flipping out a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I like when the guys do this because it gets everybody's attention and the media tries to make it look bad. But to the players, and it means that they care. It's just like, what are we doing, man? Like, every time we're in the red zone, like, we're not scoring. It's just so annoying. What is going on? So, I get it. I'm totally on board with Jason Kelce in that matter of everything. And hopefully they get it fixed. Sooner or later, the time is running. We going into week 6 now and got to get something done. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So the trade deadline, very important. Who would you go after for the trade deadline? Would it be a safety? And honestly, I wouldn't really touch linebacker too much because Nakobe Dean should be coming back this weekend. We're going to find out what happens with that. I don't want to move Nicholas Morrow or Zach Cunningham right now, but they got to make some room for Nakobe Dean to be the back end of that linebacker group. So hopefully that'll be the case. And yeah, I think there's if Howie Roseman thinks that this is a contending team and he feels like, let's make a move, not only for now, let's make one for the future. Let's look to extend a player and do something. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be very exciting of who they get and what side of the ball they're going to be looking on. I'm hoping it's defense. That's what I'm kind of looking at right now when it comes to personnel and depth and getting a quality starter like right now. If you can't trust Sidney Brown with that hamstring injury and he's going to go off again and again and again, then you're going to have to get somebody. I think there's definitely a lot out there. There's a couple teams that are not playing up to par right now that could be putting a lot of guys on sale. Like I said, it's a flea market, man. Just check the price. You don't have to take it. Just walk away if you don't like it. As long as the Eagles try to acquire somebody and they fail at it, I don't care. As long as they at least make the phone call, whatever. It's all that matters at the end of the day. But let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up, follows. Peace out, guys. Peace.